All right.
We're live.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ian Belina here with Token Metrics show, and we have the pleasure of being joined by Richard Hart, who by now is becoming very well known in crypto space, if he wasn't already well known. How are you, Richard?
Doing all right. I've been sleep deprived for a good week because we just had the Hex launch, and now I'm paying the sleep back. So I'm getting my sleep, man.
All right. So
I'm a little puffy. I just woke up. It's okay.
So we'll cover Hex on this show.
Sure.
We also do have lots of questions about Hex.
Yeah.
But first question I have is, where are you calling in from? That seems like
I don't ever tell anyone. So it's like if you're
something.
Go ahead.
No, I was saying, what backdrop is that? What set is that?
Oh, this is just my house. So
that's your house? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You have candles like that in your house?
Yeah. I mean, these things aren't expensive. I mean, each candle is like 50 cents. This thing is an antique. This is from the 1700s. It will outlive us. And then you buy it and then you sell it for more than what you paid for it. It's free to have. But most people spend the same money on something from IKEA that's literally made of particle board. And if you try and move it, it evaporates, right? So if you like put any sideways tension on an IKEA piece of furniture, it just melts because the joints don't have any strength. So just buy antiques and make money and have something more beautiful and will outlive you. There's just,
something that has a story to tell.
Yeah. All right, so everything's the best, right? So like Swarovski crystal, throne chair, there's Swarovski crystals in the XLR mic. Like I soldered that, right? It's just a little bit better. This mic stand, everyone else uses kind of like a Rode, kind of ugly one. This is the prettiest one. It's the prettiest mic stand in the world. It's the prettiest XLR connector in the world. It's the prettiest microphone in the world. You can get.
I see exactly where you're going. Everything has to be the best.
I try, right? Like I read up on stuff and I learn what the best is, and then I try and do the best if I can.
All right. So I know you're also broadcasting this on your end as well.
Yes.
But for my audience who does not know who you are, tell us, who is Richard Hart?
Sure. I'm a retired serial entrepreneur. I retired in 2003 at the age of 24. I've had a bunch of businesses. My first business was a car stereo store. I started out in my front yard and then, got a storefront and then learned search engine optimization, sold pay-per-click management, could rank websites, on the first page for competitive keywords, numbers 1 through 3, which were worth about $12 a click back then, which it's probably worth even more than $12 a click now because the internet's so much bigger than it was back then. I started a mortgage company, had a correspondent lending license, had a miracle cleaner, sex toy store, cash advance loans, which actually I lost money on. It turns out that if you don't have good collections, everyone borrows the money and they don't pay back and you just lose the money. So, oops, didn't do well on that one. Yeah. And then started traveling the world.
Quick question on that. So you went from having a car stereo business to a mortgage lending business?
Well, we went through shopping cart first. So it was car stereo into selling shopping cart into search engine optimization. And then we met a client that did mortgages and then we generated him leads. And then we just got so good at it that we started our own mortgage company.
Okay, that makes sense. Because my question was, how do you pivot from cars to mortgages? Okay, but that makes sense.
Well,
so
you go
cars, then SEO,
right.
Then shopping carts, then mortgages.
Right. Yeah. And then once you got it. Yeah. So anything that we're basically an internet marketing company. We had 150 employees and we did, over 60 million a year in turnover. And a lot of stuff that can sell on the internet. So like sex toys sell well on the internet because people prefer privacy. Mortgages sold well on the internet because you're just filling out a form, right? And then that form would become a lead for a mortgage company. So there's some businesses that do very well on the internet. The cryptocurrency does very well on the internet because you have to use the internet to use cryptocurrency for the most part.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, I love that all the stuff I learned in internet marketing applies exactly the same today. Like the game has not changed. It's exactly the same game.
Yeah. So this was early 2000s.
Yeah.
During the internet. Now, when did you?
You can go on Wayback Machine. You can go on Wayback Machine and look up Internet Marketing Masters, and that was my internet marketing company. Yeah.
Okay, so everything you're doing with Hex is kind of from experience. Everything you've learned.
Yeah, I've done all this stuff before. I got rich on referral programs. We did a lot of print and web, but we also had a lot of referrers. So, if you think about who's successful out there, Amazon has a referral program, Tesla has a referral program. It's like, if you don't have a referral program in
You
the
have
year
to have one.
2020,
I
you're
mean,
just
so
crazy.
our last interview was with Ben, who's co-founder of Bybit, and they're known for having one of probably the best referral program in crypto right now. Almost every influencer I know is just marketing that to infinity and beyond.
Yep.
And okay, so you're doing all that. When exactly?
I can mention. So I also have a shill link
Right.
for margin trading.
Go ahead.
But people that use it get destroyed and they lose all their money. so yes, you can make a lot. However, those people will be destroyed. And so it's not, so I prefer that someone create a way to make trustless interest without a counterparty and without being liquidated and without, there's better ways to get rich that don't require, like in trading, there's you staring at a screen trying to take someone else's money who doesn't want you to have it. And then there's another guy just like you on the other side of the screen, and you're both going to lose all your money, and only the guy in the middle is going to get rich. And that's not good for the world. That destroys at least 2 lives, and all of you could be doing something productive. All of you could get each other's money by building something the other guy wanted, instead of this net negative behavior that destroys all your consciousness. Like, you'll lose your health, you'll lose your relationships, you'll lose your money, and you're just helping some other guy do the same horrible things. It's just all around terrible. So I don't have those. I deleted all those links. I don't have links on my Twitter. I don't have those. I don't have links like that on my YouTube. I just took them all off.
So on our last interview with Ben, he did mention that 70% of traders on their exchange lose money.
Sure. And over a long time frame, it'll be more. Over a long time frame, it'll average out to be everyone will lose money because there's a house advantage.
Yeah, I mean, that's why all the exchanges are cash cows. They're basically taking over the banks in crypto.
Exactly. Exchanges are banks. The users weren't happy with their freedom and their private keys, so they recreated the banks, and now we have exchange banks.
Okay. So let's talk about how you got into crypto. So this was, so you got out of your last business, you said 24?
2003.
2003. Okay.
Yeah.
So how'd you discover Bitcoin and all that?
I was retired and I was traveling the world, and I used to be addicted to video games, and I used to read Reddit all the time. Back then, Reddit was very technically focused. So, the front page would always have technical news. And I heard about Bitcoin before it was $1. And then I heard about a guy that sold his house for it when it was $1. And then I saw the Silk Road article. And during this time, I was just mining it for fun because my gaming computer, GPU mining, had just come out. And you could outperform other miners by using your video cards. And I already had strong video cards because I was a gamer and rich. So I just had the best video card you could have, which back then was an ATI 5970. Which had 2 GPUs on a single card. And then, I just double click the exe and let it run when I wasn't gaming. And it would mine full 50 Bitcoin block reward blocks every once in a while. It was great. And then I just did it with the rest of my computers and bought some more and put together a little server farm. And then I was like, all right, well, I might as well actually put some money into this. And then I bought heavy and I bought the top. I bought the $30 top. And then I got to hold it to a penny. It's like, it was,
what was that experience like, holding from $30 to a penny?
I mean, when you're wealthy, it doesn't really matter because you don't care, right? It's like where I'm at right now. My wealth could go up tenfold or down tenfold, and nothing is going to actually change. It's just a number. Okay.
Now, speaking of your wealth, I have seen online whether you or other people claiming you're a billionaire. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I used to put that in my. I used to put that in my Twitter. I used to put that in my Twitter profile because it's true. Like, if you don't declare the units, you're any number you want, right? So you're a billionaire. Sure. Okay. In dollars? No.
Zimbabwe dollars?
Oh yeah. We're all like, Zimbabwe dollars. I got $1 trillion Zimbabwe bill around here. It might be actually like a $5 trillion bill or something. I could go grab it, but, so like if you don't declare the units, saying that you're a billionaire is totally meaningless. So I just thought it was funny. I'm like, yeah, I'm a billionaire. You're a billionaire too. You just don't realize it. You're just like the importance of units. So I don't do that anymore. Like, I removed all that because I'm toning the comedy down a little bit because of the project, right? So a little bit less funny.
Okay, so you began mining Bitcoin with your gaming cards.
Yeah.
This was 2009?
This was 2011. 2011 first quarter. So I think,
now,
go ahead.
What got you into Bitcoin? Was it the vision? Was it making money?
Well, when I had those big companies and I had billed so many dollars on credit cards, I knew how shitty credit cards were. And I knew that a native internet currency would be amazing. And I thought it wouldn't work until the Silk Road started accepting it. I'm like, oh, okay, this really actually will work. All right, I'm getting in, right? So I knew that there was a huge opportunity for an internet native currency to replace payments on the internet because I had done so much billing on the internet. I knew what the game was. And the game's
Now,
usually terrible. Like billing on the internet really does suck. It's no fun at all.
so what issues in particular did you have with credit cards and billing?
Well, the fees are high and the chargebacks are terrible. So if you're a retail merchant and you have a swipe, then you can fight chargebacks. So if someone comes into your store, buys something, swipes their card, signs, and then later says that that wasn't them that did that and they want their money back, you can fight the chargeback by saying, yes, it was them. Here's the proof that the swipe, the physical card was present, and here's the signature, and look, the signatures match. So that's it. You're going to win the chargeback. You're going to get to keep your money. But if you don't have that physical swipe and you don't have that signature match, they'll win the chargeback because you can't prove that they really did it, right? So if you're doing mail order MOTO, mail order telephone order orders, which is internet basically, you pay an extra % on processing. So back when I was doing this, it was 1.49 on swipe and 2.29 on MOTO. And you would just lose chargebacks and lose all the money. And there's nothing you could do about it. It was just terrible, right? Like for instance, imagine selling someone a Bitcoin and they give you, $7,500 on their credit card because that's what Bitcoin costs today. And then they say they didn't receive it after you sent it. Okay, prove you sent it to them. Oh, here's my thing on the blockchain. Oh, that's not my address. You're just going to lose, right? Now, someone's figured this out. You can actually buy crypto with credit cards now. I know that because I've seen it, and there's a lot of volume going through it. And I have no idea how they're winning their chargebacks, but they are. So I guess there's some trick to making it work now.
Yeah,
I don't know what that trick is.
I'm not sure how they do it, but I do know because with Token Metrics, we've also been looking into adding crypto as a form of payment. And it is very tough trying to deal with traditional finance world and the crypto world, and bringing the two together has been very, very tough and tedious.
You shouldn't even try, truthfully, because you can't do recurring billing, and that's where all the money is.
Yeah, I mean, so that's why for us, even though it's a crypto platform, right now it's a SaaS platform, and it's easier for people to pay with Stripe.
And it always will be
with crypto.
Yep. It always will be.
Maybe for
because you can't do recurring billing because you can't do pull payments.
Yeah. Now, I do know Stripe has something they call 3D Secure, where
that's just it's not Stripe's, it's basically Visa's product. Yeah, it's just where you get an extra authentication from the bank that makes it harder for people to charge back because it really verifies it's them because it asks them for an extra password. So it doesn't just ask you for your credit card number, expiration date, and CVV code, which is on the back, which everyone has in every leaked database, right? So anyone can bang your credit card if you've ever used it anywhere that ever got their database hacked. They ask you for this extra level of data that, isn't stored in the same place. So then if that stuff's hacked, they don't have that extra data. So then it's more secure. And MasterCard and Visa used to call it different things.
Yeah. So with Stripe, if you turn that option on for a transaction, then I think the customer can do a chargeback because it's really them. Only they had the password, the extra password. Yeah, maybe that's how they're able to sell the crypto now, is by using that system. But Stripe isn't pro crypto because they canceled Bitcoin as a.
Oh, really?
Back in 2018 because of the volatile price.
But Square should be good to go, right? Because its founder is the Twitter bro that's all in Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you get into crypto and Bitcoin. What was it like back then? I mean, because you were in pretty early. What was it back then, and how does that compare to?
Nothing worked, and everything sucked, and there was so if you wanted to, when I wanted to learn how to mine on GPU, I had to go to an IRC chat and talk to the guy that wrote the GPU miner, who was Art4z, ARTFORZ, and then he showed a picture of this little box, his cardboard box that he built to hold 4 GPUs in it. And, cut out some holes for ventilation and put fans in there. And that was where GPU mining was born. And I was in that phase, right? That's when I got in. And then, you can actually look up all this history on bitcointalk.org, just go back in time and see exactly how it was, because all the posts are still there. So you can see what everyone was talking about back then. And it was like, is the government going to make Bitcoin illegal? That was what everyone was concerned about, right? Is the government going to make Bitcoin illegal? There's no way they're going to let this happen, right? And then, it turned out fine. The government didn't make it illegal at all, right? They made it legal, actually, right? So there's a New York bit license. There's regulation. It's on the CFTC, CME exchange, right? Like it has regulatory certainty now, but back then it didn't. And since it was, peer to peer, you wanted to make ads, you made your own ads. You want to make it look like we were still deciding on what the logo would look like. We were trying to get an ISO code decided on to decide what the little symbol of the Bitcoin would look like when you typed it out. Those things weren't decided then, right? So you got to have a say in those things. It was interesting. It was different. I can say that I like the community now better because we've got memes and GIFs and motion tracking GIFs and like
and trolls.
It's a lot more fun now. We had trolls back then. Like trolls have been around since, bulletin board systems. Like we had flame baiting and that stuff.
but nowadays trolls become popular.
Full-time job.
Yeah.
True.
People are full-time trolls. Okay. True. So speaking of trolls, well, actually prior to that, when did Richard Hart become a big name in crypto? So
I came out
2011. What made you big? Yeah. Was it something in particular?
Well, I just hid in the shadows and didn't care to participate at all. I just lurked and read and, did my research. I didn't care to have anyone know what I was invested in. And then I saw Ethereum overtake Bitcoin's price on the year 2050 chart, because their supply, it doesn't reduce every 4 years, the inflation rate, but Bitcoin's does. And when you look at future supplies, Ethereum was worth more than Bitcoin. I was like, oh, well, I don't own any of that, so I better start saying bad things about it. so I became public and, started saying all the things that were wrong with Ethereum and other things, because there is things wrong with it, or more at the time. Really, it's not that there was things wrong with it as much as people were using it wrong and losing millions and millions of dollars. That was the bigger problem. But if you don't have that nuance,
it was not technology, it was the way people would use it.
Well,
I
didn't like when they had that hard fork and took away the hackers' money. I didn't particularly like that, but they can't do that now anyway. It's just too diverse now. You couldn't do it now, because if they could, they would have gotten back the parity multisig money. They would have gotten back the Polkadot money, but they're not, and they can't. So that particular like qualm or issue that I had is moot now. It just is irrelevant because they can't roll back the chain now. And so what are the other things that were going wrong? Well, people were losing millions of dollars using the software the wrong way, right? So like the parity multisig hack was that they didn't declare the creator function as private. And so someone else could come along and act as the creator and tell the contract to kill itself. And so all this contract that hold all this money in the multisig, someone just came along and asked it to kill itself, and it killed itself. And then all that money got locked forever because no one could ever access it again. Not writing the word private in the contract has nothing to do with the quality of Ethereum. Ethereum worked fine. The developer that wrote that didn't use it properly. And so the Ethereum did what it was supposed to do. The developer screwed up, right? Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with Ethereum. There's something wrong with the person at Parity that designed that contract, right?
Right. So that's your only issue with Ethereum? Because I believe
I think Ethereum's better than almost anything else out there. They have the most aggressive roadmap. This fork that they're doing in a few days has something called optimistic rollups or ZK rollups, and they both increase the throughput on chain from 100 to 1000x. That's amazing. They've got the best decentralized finance ecosystem where everything plugs in with everything else, and on chain and trustless. So if you want to go to a stable coin, you can do it on chain and trustless. You want to go to a different ERC20, you can do it with atomic cross swap. You want to use a DEX instead of a centralized finance thing. There's no sign up. You can use the DEX, right? And it's non-custodial. They can't exit scam you. There's just so many awesome things in that ecosystem that don't exist anywhere else, right? Like if you're in Bitcoin, okay, what can you do with your Bitcoin? You can send it, you can receive it, and that's it. You want to go into a stable coin because you think the price might go down? Well, you're going to have to go to a centralized counterparty who might steal all your money to try and get into a stable coin, right? And that's worse. That's not better. That's worse, right? You want to build on top of Bitcoin? Forget about it. They don't want you to. They don't want you to build on top of Bitcoin. That's why Counterparty died and Omni died, even though they tried to bring extra things on top of Bitcoin. They were killed off. Now they do less than $100 a day of volume, and they've been around for 5 years. Well, look at in Ethereum, it's the opposite. Every decentralized finance thing is getting bigger, and we're all creating, if you want to replace the banks, you got to replace every product they have. And Bitcoin tried to do currency. It wasn't successful. It just ended up doing store of value, which is worth more. So, okay, fine. But someone still has to do the job it was intended to do. Someone still has to replace all those other products of the bank. And Bitcoin can't do it. Like, Bitcoin's got time locking, but it can't pay you for time locking. But like my project, we pay you to time lock, and it's something Bitcoin can't do.
So let's get into time locking. So
sure.
And also Hex, your project.
Sure.
So kind of tell us, where did the idea come from and why this particular use case?
Well, originally it was like, wouldn't it be cool if you could transact Bitcoin value on the Ethereum network? So why don't we make a fork of Bitcoin on Ethereum? And then, okay, well, what if we do that? Like, how do we get people to actually use it? Okay, well, we need to add features to it. So what makes the price go up? Well, when people buy and they don't sell. Okay. Well, can we program people to buy? Not really. You can make referral programs and leave the contract callable from other contracts so people can build on top of it. There's things you can do to try and enhance it, but you're not really forcing people to press the green buy button. Well, can you stop them from selling? Yeah, actually, you can stop them from selling. You can program that. You can lock their coins. Oh, all right. Well, that's a good idea. Okay, so we want to enhance the value proposition and increase the fundamentals by locking coins. Okay, well, where else do they do that? They do that in time deposits. That's what time deposits are at the bank. You lock your money and you get higher interest. Okay, well then let's copy what they did. And so if you lock at your bank, you get 20% more interest every extra year you lock. All right, so that's what we'll do. If you lock your coins, you get 20% more shares every extra year you've locked. What else do? They get a jumbo CD. If you lock 100,000 US dollars, then you get 10% more interest. All right, well, let's do that. If you lock 150 million hex, you get up to 10% more interest. And so we just copy what works in the real world for time deposits, which is $7.2 trillion in just the United States and China. And that's more money than there is printed money. Printed money is about 5 trillion. There's more money in the CD than what Bitcoin tried to replace, which was currency, so we're attacking a larger market, and we're doing something that's never been done before. There's no other crypto product that's ever done this, which is crazy because it's the second most popular product at the bank. Checking account. Well, it used to be checking account. No one uses checks anymore. Savings account and time deposit is the most popular products at the bank. And no one's doing it in crypto. So it's just a no-brainer, right? Like, it just made so much sense. Then you're like, all right, well, how do we get it to be successful? It's got to have a referral program, right? So referrers make 20%. The people that get referred make 10% bonus. And currency inflates 32% to pay those guys. What else can we do? We can make it so that if you don't claim your coins early, you lose them to people that locked. The people that lock longer get more. Okay, so then you don't have like whales coming and dumping on everyone's heads because they bleed out over time, and there's none left. But what else can we do? We could penalize the whales. If you're a whale and you have over 1,000 coins in your address, you get slashed by 50%. If you got over 10,000 coins, you get slashed by 75%. And over 42% of all Bitcoin is in those addresses. There's 2,000 addresses that hold 42% of all Bitcoin.
So first question I do have, so our team has also looked into the project and kind of just doing our own review. We still are reviewing it. But the first question we had was, do you think whales will actually sign up to get tokens?
Well, I know they have, because the 130,000 Bitcoins already signed up and claimed. And it goes up every day. Now, we've only been out for 3 days.
When somebody signs up, they're basically giving away their privacy, and people can see how much they hold?
No. So blockchains are public. An address has a known public balance. Who owns that address, nobody knows unless you tie your identity to it, right? So if you want to remain anonymous and you want to remain secure, like over the top secure, right? Because most people don't even do security well at all. They don't use Tor when they connect to the network. They don't understand that you can use coin control and choose to pay things from certain addresses that you received. They just pay from whatever. So they don't use coin control, which is a feature in good wallets like Electrum, Bitcoin Core. They don't use Tor. So they're not even pretending to do
Yes,
security whatsoever.
but the average person isn't using those wallets. The average person is on Coinbase or Binance. So
Well, then you have no privacy whatsoever. You're totally 100% doxed off the bat because your identity is tied to an address already. So it's just a funny question. Like just like you said, no one really cares. But for those few people that do care, I'll tell you how to maintain your security, right? Use Tor, use coin control. And if you're going to claim your hex, you just make a new Ethereum address for every Bitcoin address that you're going to claim. And then you do it over a VPN. And then you just use a new VPN exit node every address that you claim. And then no one has any idea who owns anything. There's no sign up. There's no logging. I mean, AWS might log something, but I know that in our server control, we don't log anything. And I don't want that data. I don't care who you are. I don't want to know who you are. There's only loss in it for me, right? If I know who you are, people can ask me questions. I don't want to be asked questions. I don't care who you are, right? Doesn't matter to me. You're the one running the software. You're the one running the contract. You're the one running the code. I don't care to know anything extra, right? Okay. So it's just this big thing. Like people think it's just like your cell phone, right? Your cell phone knows when you're jerking off, where you're going, what you're thinking about, what you're searching for, when you're sick, who you're trying to date. It knows everything about you. And who has had a problem from that? Nobody. Nobody's had a problem from that, right? Like the police have never.
Well, I mean, some people have. That's why Facebook and Google have had so many privacy issues, and that's
no. But what has happened? Like, what's been the biggest problem? Like when the police go to look for somebody, they don't even use that data. They don't even use that data. They can try and subpoena it and wait for a long time for it to appear when it's too late. Like when people are coming to actually screw you up, like when criminals are coming to screw you up, or when the law enforcement guys are coming to screw you up, all of that data that's in your phone isn't what screws you. Like it just never is, unless you're like a murderer, right? Like if you're a murderer and then they look up cell phone logs.
Well, I mean, I think it does play a crucial role in criminal cases. I'll say that.
Yeah, after the fact, sure. Look, I will tell you guys how to be secure. I just told you how to do it. I'm just telling you that like it doesn't matter for most people. Like anyone. Like
so, speaking of being secure, now I believe you have to copy your private key when you're sending a transaction.
Nope.
No, that's not the case.
No, absolutely not. Never ever put your private key anywhere ever. Don't look at it. Don't put it on the internet. So in our system, you just use a Bitcoin signature. So when you have a Bitcoin wallet, it has features, and those features are send, receive, sometimes mine, and if you have a good wallet, sign statement. And what sign statement does is it just uses your private key that you could use to sign a Bitcoin transaction, and instead just signs a statement, which is not a Bitcoin transaction. And it just proves that you own the address is all it is.
Okay. Then I think there's definitely some false information going on online, which does make sense.
Oh, sure.
I mean, it is crypto Twitter and
well, look, I mean, Bitcoin signatures have been around forever.
Yeah,
if signing Bitcoin stuff was dangerous, it wouldn't be a feature in the wallet. Yeah.
Right. All right. So
just go to youtube.com/hexcrypto, and there's a 1 minute and 24-second video that shows you claiming using your private keys if you have to import them. But most people don't have to import them, right? So like if you've got a Ledger or Trezor, your private keys stay in that device, and then your device talks to Electrum, and then you can sign statements, and your keys stay in the device. They never leave the device. And if you have a Trezor, you don't have to use Electrum at all. You can use their native signing app. So like they sold you a hardware wallet to give you security, and it has a feature to sign statements in it. It is totally 100% secure. It's awesome.
Okay. I mean, so for me at a high level, or rather for our team at tokenmetrics.com, I think what you're doing is actually a useful thing.
Thank you.
I think time-locked CDs for Bitcoin is the actual needed use case.
Well, remember, it's not Bitcoin you're locking the hex tokens. Your Bitcoin you can just sell. You can sell your Bitcoin for Ethereum and then transform that Ethereum into hex. Like once the snapshot happened, there's no relation to Bitcoin whatsoever.
So just make sure I understand it. So you take a snapshot of somebody's Bitcoin, they sell that to Ethereum, then they send the Ether?
If they want to, sure. You don't have to. There's 3 ways to get hex tokens from the contract, right? So when I say get hex tokens from the contract, you're the one that's minting your own tokens, and no one else in the world could mint them for you but you. So you really are the network. So I'm going to try and use more specific language. So when you choose the contract address that has the software that you want to run, which has the hex ticker, right? And everyone else agrees has the hex ticker. You go to go.hex.win and you connect your MetaMask, right? MetaMask.io. That's your Ethereum hex wallet. Now you can do three things. You can click refer and it gives you a refer link. And anyone that clicks that, you're going to get 20% on top of whatever they get. So if they free claim using a Bitcoin signature, you get 10,000 hex per Bitcoin. You can claim a partial Bitcoin. You get a 20% bonus if you sign up day one. Now we're, I believe, on day 4. So you're going to get, a 19.8% bonus or something. It goes down to 0 over 350 days. If you don't claim in 350 days, there's nothing left. If you claim on, week 25, you're missing half your stack and half your bonus. So everything in this system is designed to get you to do everything earlier. Stake as large and as long as you can, early as you can. And that's how you get most hex gains in the system. So you can free claim, you can refer, or you can transform Ethereum into hex. Those are the three things you can do. And they're all directly in the contract.
Let's go through that free claim process again.
Yep. Mm-hmm. You have a Bitcoin address that had a balance at the snapshot. Okay. You open up your Bitcoin wallet, and there's your Bitcoin wallet. You go to go.hex.win. You copy paste your Bitcoin address into the claim tool. You click, I want to claim this. And it says, okay, cool. Here's your balance and sign this message. And the message is just claim hex to your Ethereum address. You copy that. You paste it into your Bitcoin wallet. You click sign. And it asks you, okay, what address do you want to sign this from? And you tell it that same address and you click sign. It gives you your statement. You copy it, you paste it back into the hex tool, you click submit, and you're done. Now, this does require that you have a little bit of Ethereum in there to pay your transaction fee, about 3 cents, or you can mine your own block, but it's a lot harder. And then that's it. You instantly have minted your own hex.
Now, when did a snapshot occur?
December 2nd at 7 p.m. EST.
So only for people who have Bitcoin in their wallets at that time.
Correct.
So everybody in the world who has Bitcoin can go and claim their.
Almost. There's some people that can't.
Well, those who can't sign from their own wallet.
But also, if you had a multi-sig address, you can't. If you're a Mt. Gox trustee, you're removed. You can't. You're banned. We don't like people that are going to sell only. Mt. Gox trustee, not the friend of price appreciation. If you have like a weird address type. So if you have a SegWit address, you're cool. If you have a normal one address, you're cool.
So this leads to an even bigger question. So anybody, let's say I had 1 Bitcoin back during the snapshot.
Yep.
I can go and claim my equivalent share in hex.
Yes.
For about 3 cents. Let's say less than $1.
Oh yeah, about 3 cents. Yeah.
So it's basically it's an airdrop in a way.
Well, airdrop is different because someone else controls it and then gives it to you. In this system, you mint your own coins, just like a Bitcoin miner does.
So it's a decentralized airdrop.
It's mining. You're minting your own coin. It's just different network rules. So when you mint your own Bitcoin as a miner, you're performing computation that generates an answer that the network sees as valid, and then it sees the coins you created as valid. Well, in this system, you do a different form of computation, right? A block is still being mined. And you also have the proof that you had a Bitcoin at a certain period of time, right? Or proof that you sent Ethereum to a thing. And those proofs are part of the network consensus code that allows you to mint your own coins. And then everyone else in the network looks and goes, yeah, that's legit. His coins are cool, right? So it's a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake system. If you wanted to use incorrect language, you could call it an airdrop, but it's not. You're minting your own coins. No one else can mint them for you.
I would rather call it probably a decentralized airdrop, but okay.
Sure. You can call it what you want. I care about this more than most people because of the legality of it.
Yeah.
There are legal consequences and tax consequences regarding who had a thing first and who's doing the majority of the work. And it's very important that people understand that they're the network and they're doing the work and they're running the code and only they can mint their coins and only they can mint the rewards and everything's on them, right? It's important that they understand that.
Okay, now you do bring up a good topic. I also want to cover what is the legality of all this? Because I understand this in crypto nowadays, the SEC is called almost everything besides Bitcoin and Ethereum as security, especially when you're dealing with US customers or US users. So what's the—
I've looked into it a lot. Yeah. So does Bitcoin pay dividends? Yes. Who does it pay dividends to? Investors. Well, that sounds like a security. Well, you know, the people that are in charge of the SEC currently say that it's not,
Because
right?
it's decentralized. It's fully
Because it's
decentralized.
decentralized, and that's up to them, right? That's their interpretation of the law that they're supposed to enforce. You know, they're not the legislative branch. They don't write the laws. They just interpret them to the best of their ability and try and do a good job making sure people don't get ripped off. It's a good, honorable effort that they make. I'm glad that they do that. So if Ethereum was launched as a security, but now is not one, and Bitcoin was never a security, well, then I would say Hex is also never a security, because you mint your own coins, you are the network, and you're just participating with different network rules. It's just like when you go in the ladies' room. When you go in the ladies' room, no one stops you at the door if you're not a lady. You can walk in there as a non-lady, but it's socially unacceptable. And so it's the same thing in crypto. You can make fake coins, but everyone will notice they're fake because the math doesn't check out, and then they won't let you spend them. So if you try and do things that the society that you're participating in doesn't like, then you're shunned and outcast. And cryptocurrency is the same way. If you try and make fake Bitcoin, people won't accept them. So it's just a, you know, who. So let's say that the halvening happens and the block reward's supposed to go from 25 to 12 and a half, and you decide just to pay yourself 25 still. People will reject your block and will say that's not fair.
Okay. Now, I mean, so do you have a legal counsel? Do you have securities lawyers that have gone through it and kind of given you an opinion and guidance?
I'm not answering that.
Well,
so here's the issue on my perspective. The best thing that can happen is that free human beings are able to associate with each other voluntarily as they wish, and that everyone stay out of their business unless there's some type of harm or problem being performed, right? As long as, so the Howey test states that you are a security in the United States if you give money to a common pool with the expectation of profit solely from the work of others, right? In Hex, are you getting, is the profit you might make in Hex solely from the work of others when you're the one doing all the computation and you're the one minting the coins and you're the one paying yourself your own reward, minting your own reward? It is obviously not solely from the work of others. It is obviously from your work. Okay, well, who's doing more work? You're doing the most work. Okay, well, then that leg is won entirely, and then you can't be a security. And what other things could you argue?
I mean, so I have looked at the website. I mean, I think the technology, the website itself, I think.
The website looks like a scam. I mean, it uses the same advertising tactics and language that scams do.
So,
and it's not a mistake. It's by design.
From a legal perspective, the way you market or promote something can make something a security, right? That's why I would highly recommend you get legal counsel just to kind of assure the whole community that, hey, this has been approved.
That's a misunderstanding. So there's a misunderstanding that you're not allowed to talk about profit. It's not true, and people misunderstand it. The problem with profit is not that it exists, it is where it comes from. Does it come from the essential effort of someone else? If that person stopped doing something, would the product stop going up in value? Would the product stop functioning, right? Is there essential effort from another party? If that website disappears and I die, product still works perfectly well. You can go to etherscan.io and use the right contract function and do absolutely everything you want. Nothing changes, right? So because users are doing the vast majority of the work, because there's no essential effort from my part or anyone that I know, because there's no promise of any work whatsoever, none, no promise of any work whatsoever has ever been made. The exact opposite of that. I have no expectations
now
whatsoever.
On the site, you do mention that it was designed to have what?
Yep, 10,000x return in less than 2.5 years. Yep.
And that phrase could be
it can't.
potential.
Watch me win this one. Watch me win this one. You ready?
Well, I mean, I don't doubt you, but I'm just saying.
People could look, if people want to bring it to court and waste everyone's time, they can, right? They can do that, but I'm going to win. Like, I read the law and I understand it, and I'm playing by the rules. So
okay, so that part.
Let me cover the 10,000x thing.
Okay, all right.
How many X return was Bitcoin designed to do? It was designed to replace fiat currency, right? And it started out worth nothing.
That part I've read.
So that's
But Bitcoin
infinite X.
didn't really have marketing saying it's going to, well, like pumpamentals and
It did though.
100,000X.
It introduced two pumpamentals. It introduced freemium onboarding by people double clicking an EXE, which is basically like a coupon of giving something free stuff. So they
Well,
FOMO in
correct.
after.
But
And they
the marketing wasn't really there. Bitcoin lacked marketing. It was being marketed by individuals who are not associated
right,
with the
but
company.
once again, there is no problem saying that things are likely to appreciate. Collectible plates, collectible comics, art, Ferraris, houses, they all appreciate, and they're not securities, because the issue isn't the appreciation. The issue is, where does the appreciation come from? Bitcoin's up 750,000x right now. It was up over 2 million x in 2017. And it was designed to do that and more. But people are too stupid to realize it. So I have to point it out to them that yes, indeed, Bitcoin was designed to do millions of X return and actually did it. And here's the pumpamentals it used to do it, with a cutting the inflation rate in half every 4 years, which wasn't in the white paper, right? So all the things Bitcoin did, Hex is doing, right? Hex has pumpamentals, Bitcoin had pumpamentals.
That part I did get, but it could be misconstrued by
Sure,
as almost a guarantee.
but it's their job. It's their job to understand the nuance. It's their job to understand the nuance. And there's a big difference between saying something can go up and it will go up. So if I tell you Hex can go up 10,000x in 2.5 years and is designed to do so, but I have no idea at all if it will do that. I have absolutely no idea. It could go to zero. It could drop 85% or 95% any moment. It could never go up at all. I have no idea. And neither does anyone else. So like I'm being as truthful and honest as I possibly can be. And I don't know what more the law could ask of me, right?
I mean, I think you've definitely done a good job in terms of trying to be truthful. And I would just suggest as a friend to have legal counsel.
Should I make it 1,000x? Should I make it 10x? Should I make it 1x? Should I say price? Should we never look at what prices do in crypto and just pretend that nobody knows that they go up a lot? Like, there's not a lot of, there's no like, because at some point there's a free speech issue, right? Like, am I allowed to talk about the behavior of things in the real world and describe what they likely do? And if I'm allowed to do that, you know, it's a chilling effect to have to worry about speaking the truth about things. Like,
as somebody who's gone through the process of taking the Series 65 exam and now going through the process of becoming licensed with the SEC and having a public persona where I create content, it's been definitely lots of red tape we have to walk through.
Well, you were more open than anyone. I mean, you published Ian published how much money he made on all the deals that he did and the percentages he was getting paid and everything. And I don't know anyone that's ever done that in any business ever.
And people still call me a scam.
Right. So like,
that's crypto for you. But I mean,
I think when people get wrecked on stuff that you kind of like are associated with, they're going to call you a scam no matter what. But I mean, you got wrecked with them too. So it's not like you know.
Yeah. I mean, so with me, the issue was I would tell people, look, don't put more than 10% into any cryptocurrency. Then some people would ignore that and go put in the entire portfolio or 50% of the portfolio into some random shitcoin and come back and blame me. And I mean, I definitely empathize with people's pains, but at the end of the day, you really have to.
You have to take your own responsibility, guys.
Yeah, you have to own
like you are in cryptocurrency. If you lose your keys, you lose all your money. If you let someone else have your keys, you lose all your money. If you fall for some hacker, you lose all your money. If you send your coins to an address that was the wrong address, you lose all your money. There's a lot of ways to lose all your money in crypto. If you margin trade, probably going to lose all your money. If you don't lose all your money and you stay in crypto for more than 3 years, you're probably going to sit through an 85 to 95% drawdown, just like everyone else in crypto. These are what are likely to happen in any cryptocurrency. And while all that suckiness and all that garbage is true, we also are the highest appreciating asset class that's ever existed in the history of mankind. And it's very interesting that both of those things can be true at the same time. And they are.
Okay. All right. Now, the next question our team did have when we were looking into the project, the development team seems to be relatively unknown.
Yep. They're more unknown than you think. You don't actually know who they are. Those people on the website don't have code in the project. They've worked on it, but their code didn't even make it in. So everyone that's on the website's worked on it, but none of their code's in it.
So who wrote the actual code? Because when our team was—
You don't know. I don't tell you.
Okay.
You can message them on Telegram and ask them questions, and He's, doing stuff, but
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Like
I mean, I definitely respect people who value their privacy. But I'm just kind of looking more from like the VC perspective.
sure. Well,
Right?
I'll tell you what you should look at from that perspective. Who designed a thing matters very little compared to what they designed, because we've seen that Bernie Madoff was the CEO of NASDAQ, right? And so if you did identity analysis and you said, would the CEO of NASDAQ rip us all off and steal our money, the identity analysis would say no. But when you did the statistical analysis and showed that his fund never had a drawdown, and that's statistically impossible, then the statistics would show that he was robbing everyone, right?
Yeah.
So in software development, we have published the code. It is audited. We've got 3 audits, 1 economics audit, 2 security audits. And if you go to etherscan.io and you go to the contract address, which is published at the top of the website, hex.win, you can see that, 1, we're the most popular DApp on the Ethereum network currently. In 2 days, we became the most popular project on there. The only thing that does more transactions than us is Tether, and they don't really do computation. They're not really doing math. They're just a dumb token, right? So they're not even really a competitor for what we do. They're not decentralized finance. We are. Second, you can read the code. It's verified, and that's the code that's in the contract. So what you do is you put your contract on the blockchain, right? And the code's there, and it's locked. It's immutable. And then you take the text of your code and you submit that text, and then you tell it what compiler you used, and then it compiles that text, and it sees that the text that you gave it matches what's on the blockchain, and then it verifies it and it says, okay, we know that this contract that's in this code really is this text, and it matches, and so this is the code that's being run. Because there's some contracts that, you run them and you interact with them, but they don't publish the code and you don't know what they really do. So with ours, you really know what it does, and it really has audits. You can read them. They're on the homepage. Just scroll down to security. And I've got another audit that'll be published soon. I'm under NDA. I can't release it yet. Yeah, that's what matters. Who designed it doesn't matter. Bitcoin works fine. You don't know who Satoshi is, right?
Well, Bitcoin had first mover advantage, right? And nowadays, there've been lots of private or anonymous exit scams, right? I'm not saying this is an exit scam. I think this is actually.
No, you should only use audited code. You can lose all your money. Like that. The only thing that matters is that code. You're the network. You're running the code. You really should understand that code. We wrote a guide on how to understand the code. It's if you go to hex.win and you click the menu bar and you click tech specs, you can download the code there. But the stuff on Etherscan is even better because it's verified. And then you can read the description that Kyle wrote of what all the functions do and how everything works. It's basically like the white paper and implementation guide. Just read that. And then you as a layman can really understand the code. It's not that hard, right? It's a little hard, but it's not that hard. If you understand finance, I think you could understand this code.
Yeah. And then for everybody on my channel, definitely go to tokenmetrics.com. We'll have our official review on Hex.
Cool.
On both the fundamental analysis, technical analysis, and the code review.
I don't know what you're doing for technicals, man. We've only been trading for like 1 or 2 days
well, actually,
in a very thin market.
So technicals is fully automated, so that's not up yet. But once it's on exchanges, we'll just have.
Well, we're on exchanges. We're on 4 exchanges now.
So I think right now it has to be on 2. So if it's not coming in, are you guys on CoinMarketCap?
Not yet.
Okay, so
I still have to fill out the form.
Once you guys are on there, then our system will pull that in and automatically do any technicals.
Okay.
And we can definitely even offer a coupon for everybody on your channel.
Go ahead.
Well. Just put in the coupon Crypto Family, all caps, Crypto Family, 1 word, when you sign up, and you guys can get 10% off. We also do have a free basic plan, and all the other plans also have 14-day trials as well. Now, caution though, because your project or the developers are private or anonymous.
Well, you do know who some of the developers are that have worked on it, but their code just didn't make it in the end product, right? So it's like the guy that built StakeHacks, which is his own project. His project's up and running and doing great, and it models what the system does. It's not in the contract. Kyle, who wrote the guide on how to understand the contract and who did his own modeling on how things would work economics wise, that you can run yourself. It's a C# file that you run through something called LinkPad. You can program different behaviors for different users and see what the system state will look like in the future. All these things are there, and those are the people that built them. Dan put some work in, Cody put some work in, but the actual end code was kind of, we had a hero dev that just ended up doing better work than everybody else, and he designed most of it.
Now, one thing I will add is all the information we have is just purely our opinion. It's not financial investment advice. Do not use it to invest or base anybody's investment choices on it. And if you, just speak to other people who are experts at it or who are professionals.
Yeah, I also don't know what the price will do. I know it's designed to do. I know what its design intentions are. I don't know what it's really going to do, right? I mean, I'm excited every day to look at the stats. Now, like 130,000 BTC claimed. Cool.
One thing our team did like though, besides having an actual innovation in the space, private developers aside, you have lots of traffic. I mean, the website has over 1 million views. Last time
are you using Alexa, or how are you getting that? How are you generating that? I wonder. You don't have to tell me.
No, some public plugin.
Okay. Yeah, and this is with $0 of advertising. We've never, ever bought an advertisement of any form, ever.
Now, this site does use projected numbers. I think that's based on impressions and traffic from the different sources. But they're saying your website is getting over 1 million views a month.
Well, that's true. I mean, we've have over. So I use Google Analytics, and we get at least 300,000 or 400,000 users per month.
Yeah, because somebody did send that to me. Actually, maybe I can pull that.
So I can give you the metrics. We've got 130,000 Bitcoin that is free claimed so far. Goes up every day. We got 21,500 in the email list. We've got about 300,000 or 400,000 users, individual users, which are harder to get than views, right? Like views multiply per user, but users are harder to multiply. That's like the smallest number you can get. We've also got. Go ahead.
But the main point is you're a marketing machine.
Thank you, man. We're the #1 DApp on Ethereum within 2 days.
So in terms of can this project scale or go global? I mean, obviously the numbers are there. You're well known in the space. And I think this is something other projects can really learn from, because people complain when projects try to market well or try to really, right?
That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, that's what matters.
That's the only thing that matters. If you care about the price, it is the only thing that matters.
Because we can't have developers market projects forever and ever.
No. So I'll tell you why Hex is successful at marketing. It is not because I'm good at marketing. I'm not the majority of the marketing. Hex was on the front page of the piratebay.org for a few days. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing. I was surprised as hell when I saw it.
Wow.
Hex has tons of content creators out there making videos about it because of the referral system. Hex is successful because it is designed well. It is not successful because anything I'm personally doing.
But that's still part of marketing, though.
Sure. Having the proper design is more important than anything I could personally do, because I run out of time, right? There's only so much I can do. But all of those other people can generate thousands of more hours of content, generate thousands more impressions, and reach into niches that I've never heard of. And this is how I got rich the first time, right? Like, this is affiliate marketing is how I got wealthy in the first place. And it is amazing. And it is working for everybody, including the scammers, right? The scammers do very well with it. And so we're just doing the same things that have worked forever. They work for Amazon, they work for Tesla, they work for the scammers, and now they're working for us.
So can you walk us through that process in terms of designing the referral system, the affiliate system,
Sure.
Even modeling scams and kind of taking what they do well and doing it in a legal way?
Right. Well, I mean, so the thing that you want to do is you want to not be if you're a scammer, you don't care about breaking the law, probably an MLM's better, right? Since you're already breaking the law anyway, you can just go ahead and do the MLM route. Because we want to stay legal, we didn't do the MLM route. There's only one level of referrer. So you mint extra tokens. You are given extra tokens by other people that are minting them when they have used your referral link, right? So that's one level. There's no extra levels, right? You're not going to make more if someone you referred refers somebody. That would be an MLM. So we don't have an MLM. They're more profitable if you're willing to scam. We're not. So we just chose.
Wait, so when you say one level, so if I refer somebody, that's one level. If they refer somebody else,
I don't get anything. Exactly.
Now, I believe Bybit has 2 levels.
Yeah, they have more levels. Sure. Yeah.
So what's the legality in terms of what makes something like?
It's called like the Kelcor test or the Kelnor test, something with a K and a C and an O and an R in there.
Okay.
And basically what it is, so there's two tests that matter. One's the Amway test, and that is 70% of the sales from retail use of the product, or is more than 30% of the sales for the actual package thing that you buy to be able to sell the product. And then if that 70-30 ratio is exceeded, then you're a pyramid scheme. So that's the Amway rule. But then there's also another rule for multi-level marketing, and it's the Glenn test. Yeah. So if you're on Wikipedia, it'll be in the similar vein with the Amway rule, this Kellnor test or Kelcor or something. And this like Glenn Haverton or something, he's still out there, still working, right? He's known as like Mr. Positivity or something. And he did the first MLM thing that was for cosmetics, I think. So, his rule is, there's three parts, and it's basically very similar in, how much of the money is going to just being able to sell the thing instead of retail sales, right? So people don't want, chain letter scams where there's a bunch of money being passed around, but no real product or service, right? That's what they're trying to prevent. So.
Okay. So how do you guys track that? Do you guys track who's referring what? How much is coming in based on referrals?
Well, no, it's all trustless. So there's not even a database. Okay. So the software, like if you go to hex.win, it just puts a cookie on your browser that says who referred you, right? So if you go to hex.win / R equals an Ethereum address, it just sets that Ethereum address in a cookie in your browser. And then if you ever claim or use the adoption amplifier and transform Ethereum into hex, then you mint, you tell the contract to mint. So you're running the contract and it mints the reward for that person and you at the same time, because you get a bonus from using it. So as a user of a referral link, you're going to get a 10% bonus. And as a referrer, you're going to get a 20% bonus. Then the currency inflates 32% to reward both of you guys. And so there's no database, there's no usernames, there's no passwords, there's no sign up. It's totally stateless. There's no, it's pretty cool.
Okay, now going back to what you said earlier, so does the free claim, then you can also convert Ethereum, you said?
Yes, you can transform Ethereum into hex. And then, so basically there's every day. In the beginning, there was more, but now there seems to be about 500 million a day every day. And the reason for that is when people make free claims, it reduces the amount available in the adoption amplifier, but it's spread over all remaining days. So right now, if 1,000 new Bitcoin claims, it reduces the amount available to the adoption amplifier by 1,000 times 10,000, right? To get into the units of hex, because there's like 10,000 hex per Bitcoin that you claim. So the problem is, or not problem, but when you claim 1,000 coins and it reduces it by 1,000, that 1,000 that it's reduced by is spread over all remaining days. So if this was the last day and you claimed 1,000 coins, free claim, it would reduce the AI by 1,000 times 10,000 hex. But because we're still so early in the phase, these big claims that hit, they have a small damped effect daily because it's spread over so many. So it seems to be about static at about 500 million hex a day for the next 340 something days.
Now let's say somebody has 10 BTC, they can just convert that to Ethereum.
Yep.
Then send that to a smart contract and get hex.
Yep. So the way it works is every day there's a bucket, and the bucket starts with about 500 million hex. And then there's an empty bucket that you can put Ethereum into. And at the end of the day, the bucket's empty. And then you can press exit and then mint your coins. And everyone gets the same deal that day. So if you were 10% of the ETH, you get 10% of the hex. If you're 20% of the ETH, you get 20% of the hex. New day starts, new buckets. And this bucket's slightly less due to all the free claims that were made. And then this bucket's empty and it happens again. Now this similar system was what EOS used to launch, and they raised $4.2 billion using it. So it is the most successful launch tactic that has ever occurred in crypto history. Those guys made more money than everyone.
Yeah, they did. Actually, I was I was our early investor in the ICO the first week.
There you go.
But anyway,
same thing.
Question though. So if people are sending Ethereum to the smart contract, where does Ethereum go? Is it going to you, somebody else? Is that being split, sent somewhere else?
I can tell you.
Does that make it an ICO or a fundraise?
Here's what EOS did. EOS got the Ethereum and then made really big promises and had no product. And we have the opposite of that. We make you no promises and we have a product. So they were a security and had to settle with the SEC because they were a security. And we are not a security because we do the opposite of what they did. We have a fully functional product with no promises whatsoever. Now, could I tell you?
The website could be viewed as a promise.
Describing how software works is not promising things. Telling you that you'll have more hex because you locked up hex because that's what the software does, not a promise. Telling you that cryptocurrencies tend to go up a lot, not a promise, right? So I'll tell you right now, do not have any expectations whatsoever of any work from anyone else at all. Do not expect any benefit whatsoever from any Ethereum sent to that contract. And to help you have no expectations, I don't tell you who or what might, if those keys even do exist, have any control over that address. Because if you knew what type of entity or person might have keys, then you might start to assume things and you might start to visualize and fantasize benefit to yourself. Oh, maybe he'll burn the ETH and then the price of Ethereum will go up, or maybe he'll buy my bag, or maybe, right? I don't want you to have any of those ideas because it could make this more like a security. I don't want it to be a security, right?
Well, I do see where you're coming from, Richard, but
it's a hard thing because I'd make this project would be more successful if promises were made. And we're fighting very hard to make them not made.
As an investor, as somebody who was investing in lots of private sales, projects that got in trouble with the SEC would have investors sign contracts saying this token has no utility right now and don't have any expectations. And some of them.
Well, that's worse though, because that's the fact that you're selling something that has no utility means that the only thing that could possibly exist is promises, right? Like.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, projects have tried to have investors sign away any kind of responsibility.
I don't think you can make something not a security by pretending that it's not a security. I think the actual facts are what matter. And in this case, because you're doing all the work, you're minting your own coins, and no one else, you don't even know who is doing something that might promise you something. I think that all helps, right?
Yeah.
So I'm doing the thing that's better for the project. If people, I don't think people realize this, but securities can't list on cryptocurrency exchanges because cryptocurrency exchanges are not licensed broker dealers for securities. The NASDAQ is a securities dealer. The NICE is a securities dealer, but Poloniex is not a securities dealer, right?
I mean, they can, but in the past they still have, and that's why they've had to.
They might have picked up a license through Circle. I think Poloniex might. So
no. I mean, so projects have been getting delisted as more guidance has been coming out from.
Right, because they don't want to go to jail for selling unlicensed securities and not having a dealer license.
Now, speaking of exchanges, what exchanges are you currently trading on?
Right now, there's an exchange that's new called Bidesk, and they've got USDT, ETH, and BTC pairs with Hex. There's another exchange called Tags, TAGZ. There's also Fork Delta, and it was either Ether Delta or Fork Delta. I don't remember which. I think it's Fork Delta.
Yeah, Fork Delta. Ether Delta was closed a while back.
Oh, didn't know that. All right. Well, it's Fork Delta then.
By the SEC.
There you go. Well, I thought that they were fined, but they were still existing, is what I think happened. Because I think I still have been on their site recently. Yeah, they had to cease and desist some things, but I think they still exist.
Okay, I think the founder sold the company to somebody else.
Could be.
Somebody else probably put it up.
He might have divested. We're also on McAfee Dex, but I hear it's broken and it doesn't work right. And then there's other places reaching out to me all the time, telling me that they want to list. So it's very likely that very soon you'll see at least two or three more places.
So back to the earlier question. So when people send Ethereum, that goes to fund
it goes to the contract, and then anyone in the world can run a flush function that flushes that ETH into an address. And if you look right now, all of the ETH, around 4.5 million that has been sent, has been flushed for the most part to an address, and then it's just sat there. And that's all that's happened.
To one address or several addresses?
One address. There's only one flush address. So right now, Ethereum goes to the contract, people run the flush function, I have no idea why they're doing it, but they are. And then the flush function causes the ETH to move from the contract to this one address.
Wait,
it
so
starts with like 0xDEC something.
So one individual can flush their whole money raised into one other address?
Yeah, anybody can do that. It's a public function. Yeah.
So if I go there tomorrow and say flush, it will send all the money to this particular address?
Yes. Yep.
And do we know who controls that address?
No one in the public knows anything about it. No one knows if the keys exist. No one knows if a human holds them. No one knows if they're spread over a bunch of people. But
the developers who made the smart contract know who owns the address if they put that in the code.
Actually, no. They don't know either.
It's a random address. It's like randomly generated.
I'm not going to tell you, but what you can do, here's what you can do. You can set up a script that just watches the address, and you can do chain analysis. You can do chain analysis on it. Okay. And the first time it decides to do something, you can be like, all right, let's see what it's doing, because it's the blockchain, right? And
I think that might be a weakness in the whole timeline.
What are you afraid that it'll pump your bags and buy a bunch of ads or something? Because I'll tell you that it won't. I have to tell you.
Well, not me, but I'm saying I can see why some people in the public may be concerned that maybe it's your address or whatever. If they don't know.
So let's say hypothetically, what if it was my address? Exactly what would be wrong with that?
I mean, me personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think they should be initial disclosure before people send the funds. Right. So it's kind of.
But if you expect things from this address, I don't want you to participate, because it is not a security, and you're not supposed to derive any benefit whatsoever from those funds. True, so if you're looking for benefit, do not participate, because you will not receive any benefit, right?
It's kind of
money you'll have ETH, and then you won't have ETH anymore, and then that's it. You won't. It's not yours anymore. Like when you go to the store and you buy a sandwich, when you go to Subway and you buy a sandwich, and you give the guy your money, you don't ask that guy what he's doing with it. Hey man, which bologna vendor are you dealing with? How much were you paying your bologna vendor? Is he licensed?
I totally agree.
Show me the receipts.
I totally agree, right? But I'm just saying the crypto world is wired differently. And this is somebody who got hacked for $2.5 million because I was too public.
That's rough.
Right? I was very public. I had people monitoring my wallets.
Yeah.
Anytime I send somebody Ether or whatever, or any token, probably 100 people would monitor that and post that in Telegram groups.
Yep.
So I can definitely see why somebody would be private, but I think
there's no privacy in blockchain, man. It's public, right? Like if you want privacy, you got to use Monero or some other type of like mixing technology. So what I tell people is if you wanted to get anonymous Ethereum, there's a website called tornado.cash, which Vitalik tweeted about, which is why I know about it. And apparently you can use that to mix Ethereum and make it anonymous, right? In Bitcoin, you've got something like Wasabi or Samurai, I believe, which kind of does mixing. Or you could always set up an account on Binance off of a non-US IP. And as long as it's under 2 BCC, there's no AML KYC. And then you can just buy Monero or send Monero to it and get whatever you want, right? So.
But back to the smart contract. I mean, I can see maybe because the Hex doesn't want to appear like an ICO or to make it a security, so they
there's no promises. It's a fully functioning product. It's the opposite of an ICO. An ICO is give us money for promises and maybe we'll build you something. Yeah. This is the opposite of that. It's already built and there's no promises. If you want to run the code, run it. If you don't. It's cool.
But all I'm saying is it's going to be tough when crypto sees 3 million, 10 million, maybe even $100 million worth of Ethereum and a smart contract that nobody knows who owns it.
Well, I mean, at some point, someone is going to know who owns it, right?
When it starts moving.
Well, not even when it starts moving, but if it ever gets spent, right? So unless it gets like mixed, it just someone at an endpoint will know that there was an identity tied to a value at some point, right? So it's not a question of, unless the mixing gets real good, right?
I mean, it's safe to assume that whoever put that address in the smart contract was either a developer or tied to the developer. So somebody tied to
that seems like a reasonable assumption. Yeah.
So
you're not gonna, I've been interrogated by Better, Ian. I'm not going to give you what you want.
No,
No
no.
one is ever going to know
Of
unless
course.
they absolutely have to know. And here's the funny thing, right? We're in an ecosystem developed by Satoshi. No one knows who he is. And if you say things like, hey, let's
That's the best
remove
thing
his
he did.
coins so he can't spend them, people say, no, it's his money. And you're like, okay. But I make a cryptocurrency and I have a face and I'm known. And everyone's like, count his money now. What are you doing with your money? Now, when you mint your own hex, does anyone ask you what you're doing with your hex? Is there a form you have to fill out? And it says, hey, when you mint your own hex, are you going to buy like Barbie dolls with it, or what are you going to do?
Well, I mean,
That would be gross. Like,
I fully get what you're saying, and I actually agree. But I'm
yeah,
just saying,
like count your own money.
not everybody thinks like you or me. People don't like the unknown. One thing I've learned in general, people don't like seeing other people make money, right? That's something.
Yep.
That's something
Yeah.
that's true, right?
Yep.
So the fact that they think, okay, this guy Richard or Hex or whoever is really just fundraising without really doing anything. I'm just saying,
without doing anything. Holy shit! You know how hard this was to do? Oh my god, it was so hard to do, man. We're like a year late. Like we should have launched a year ago. It's fucking hard. By the way, oh man, look, building a new thing in a blockchain is super hard.
I agree, but I'm saying this is how people on crypto Twitter and everywhere think.
But I don't mind that. Like, so here's what I've learned: the people that are hateful and spiteful, you can only turn about 20% of them. 80% are going to remain hateful and spiteful no matter what, and no amount of capitulation on your part will change that, right? So you can't win those guys. So what can you do? You can get the 20%, and then you can just use all the hype, right? So, hey, Richard's making a new Ponzi, and then everyone starts yelling about it, and everyone starts saying how terrible I am. Okay, cool. Well, it's not a Ponzi, right? Ponzi's fail because they make you promises they can't meet and they're fraudulent. In Hex, you owe yourself money from the code that you're running, and it can always pay you because it invented the thing it's paying you. So you owe yourself Hex when the code that you run, and it works, and it's audited to work, right? Mm-hmm. It can't ever fail like a Ponzi fails because it just owes you something it invented. It can always pay you, and you're the network, and you owe yourself. So it's not a Ponzi. Is it a pyramid? No, there's only one level of referrer. Is it a bubble? I don't think so, man. The value is not very high, right? You got to go up high to crash to have a bubble, right? So it's not a Ponzi. It's not a bubble. It's not an MLM. It's not a pyramid. And everything that people say, they just flap their lips and they don't understand like what they're saying. They just call everything a scam. They don't even know the difference between one kind of scam and another. I have to teach them and educate them the difference, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm happy if people want to be very concerned about the mystery and want to give me a bunch of free press and free advertising about it. Feel free, right? Like I am not going to lie about reality and pretend to be small or pretend that this thing doesn't have potential because the fear that a bunch of hateful, spiteful people will give me free press. I won't do it. Yeah. I'll tell the truth and they can give me the free press and we can make a real difference in the world. And all those people that are getting scammed will be less scammed if they participate in this because this is audited and verified and there's no exit scam, right? There's no entity that has control that just leaves with the money, which just happens in all these other Ponzi's and crap, right? People buy a fake token, they give a real token, they get a fake token. The fake token has a really high price because it's not even traded anywhere and the centralized party just sets the price at whatever they want, right? Hex is nothing like that. Hex is fully functional, traded in the public, only by the public, with extremely low volumes because it's real and natural, right? It's not I'm not trading on there. No one I know is trading on there. So like this is how real, honest cryptocurrency stuff is done. And it's crazy to be called a scammer constantly by people that don't even understand what the project does. Like,
yeah, you do have heavy marketing on the site.
True.
I mean,
yeah, true. You do. Look, if you only spend 2 minutes on there, you're
put it
gonna
on thick, right?
Yeah.
But people have,
it's true. It's true.
But I mean, for me, because I'm an investor, our job is to really look deep into projects. I mean, sure, not everything we touch makes money,
right?
But our job is really to go deep on a project. That's why we've gone deep. And for me, I can see past the heavy marketing. I mean, I think
it's all about the code, in my opinion. Yeah, it's all about the code.
I think the use case and everything you're doing is good. It has potential. The only thing I would recommend, this is not me trying to impose anything, is just have a securities lawyer on your team.
I understand what you're saying. Totally.
Yeah, just to kind of have that box checked in case anything crazy would happen. Okay, one other question our dev team did have is, actually, I think our analyst had from looking
Sure.
at some article.
I love answering questions.
That's great.
I do. Like,
So,
I want, like, by the way, when you ask me, like, what happens to the money, bro, I would love to tell you. I would love to tell you, right?
mhm.
But I can't. Like, it's just not, it's not in the game, right? I got to do what's right for the project. Like,
Yeah. Okay. The next question is, so there's code in a smart contract that every time there's a fee, or I guess the whale fine or whatever, part of that money goes to the,
yeah.
I guess,
So what
to
you're looking for is the origin address. So if you
yes.
read the code, there's two addresses that are declared. One is the flush address that gets the Ethereum, and the other address is called the origin address. What the origin address does is it gets a copy of the bonuses. It does not get a copy of your base claim. It does not get a copy of your interest. It just gets a copy of bonuses, and bonuses only exist for the first 353 days. And then there aren't any more bonuses. So if you got a 10% bonus for being referred, it gets a copy. If you referred somebody and you got 20% of their stack, it gets a copy. If you got a speed bonus because you claimed the first day, you got 20%, and that falls down to 0 over the year, it gets a copy. If
Now,
someone,
what's that copy? What's that percentage? 10% as well, or something
well,
like
we don't know what percentage it is because it depends on how many people
that?
used that bonus, right? So if no one was referred, it would be nothing. If everyone claimed the last day and nobody got a speed bonus, it would be nothing, right? So the amount that amount that the origin address is rewarded is proportional to the amount that people use the cool bonuses. If no one uses the cool bonuses, then it doesn't get anything. Well, so let me finish listing all the things it gets.
Mhm.
So speed is a bonus; it gets a copy of. Viral and crit, which multiply this big payday on day 353 by the adoption percent. So virality measures what percentage of 9.1 million total BTC addresses claimed, and critical mass measures what percentage of coins claimed, right? So there's an address count and then there's a coin count, and they're different. Some addresses are rich, some addresses are poor, and you want to measure both. And so, if both of those maxed out at 100%, then it would multiply the unclaimable coins and the late penalty and all that stuff, right? So there's 18 million total BTC, but only about 9.1 million can actually try to claim after the whale penalties and the multi-sig can't claim and the Mount Gox me not. And, that's before late penalties, right? So it would multiply that by 3x, whatever that number ended up being.
Mhm.
So it gets a copy of those bonuses. And that's also the reason that stakers will make more than the adoption amplifier guys.
Now that bonus is going to hex the entity.
It's just going to the origin address, who or whatever has keys, if anyone. So
Okay.
I'm pretty
Now,
sure someone does have keys to that because
well,
it has
I'm pretty
staked.
sure. Okay, so I mean, I don't have an issue
It is
with
moved to places that have
I
staked.
mean,
Go ahead.
I personally don't have an issue with that because lots of products do that all the time, right? So, for example, one other influencer as well, Tommy World Power, actually, who's a good, great guy.
Mhm.
His project Energy also has what they call the backbone or the founders or whatever. So, 10% of all mined cryptocurrencies or coins gets sent to the company to really kind of help business development.
I prefer that any entity receiving things is not known so that it can't make promises, because it's important for not being a security, which is important for listing on exchanges. So sure, identities could be assigned,
I can
promises
see
could be
both
made,
perspectives.
more money would come in, but I would rather have less money come in and have a more secure position against threats, right? So I'd rather be more secure and have less money come in than less secure and start saying things like, yeah, you're giving money and then it's being used for this stuff, and then there's essential effort from another party and you can expect, like, fuck all that, right? Now look, that could still survive. Like the project could still survive that because you're doing the majority of the work, but I would rather not even go there and just push it farther away from securityville by giving you no expectations and you're doing all the work, right?
Okay. I mean, I can definitely see all those arguments.
Yeah.
But
I want to finish. It's important. I want to finish telling you what this
okay.
origin address gets,
Go
because
ahead.
this is also revenue to the stakers. So stakers not only make interest up, all the inflation in the system is paid to stakers, the 3.69% after the launch phase, right? During the launch phase, there's a lot of bonuses that get paid out, right? So after the launch phase is over on day 353, the only income to the stakers is the maximum 3.69% inflation per year and emergency end stake penalties and late end stake penalties. So if you emergency end stake and you don't stay staked as long as you said you would, you get murdered with fees. And if you was a short stake, it's not that bad. But if it was a long stake and you're emergency ending a long stake, man, you will be hurting. So I strongly suggest that you don't use the emergency end stake feature. It is an advanced feature and you truly are responsible for what it does. It could nuke your account, right? So stay away from that emergency end stake button. If you do nuke your account, and you do it great harm, half of that harm is going to go to the origin address and half of that harm is going to go to stakers. And so this is very interesting game theory because there might actually be an incentive for some people to produce FUD to try and get people to emergency end stake. I don't know if it'll happen, but
that's the end game, right?
Well, I don't know, because it depends on what their exit is, right? Like if the other people want it out soon, they wouldn't want the price to get hurt, right? But if they had longer time frame interest, then maybe they would be happy to FUD and see somebody else emergency end their stake. And then I don't know how to work out. It'll be interesting. Now here's another interesting. Go ahead.
Okay.
The other interesting game part. I'll finish it. It's only one more thing. The other interesting game part is the late end stake. So you opened a stake, which created shares, which dilute the payments to all the other stakers. And now when your stake expires and becomes stale, you need to update the system and run the code to pull your shares out so that everyone else stops being diluted. If you don't do that within 2 weeks of when you said you were going to end your stake, then you start losing a % of your stack in that stake every week. And over 100 weeks, you don't got nothing left. It's all gone. And half of that goes to the origin address and half of that goes to the stakers, right? Now, what if you go to jail? Someone else can run it for you. Anyone else in the world can run the good accounting function that will pull your expired shares out and update the system state to be more accurate, which is why we call it the good accounting function. Anyone in the world could do that. Now, I don't know if anyone will do that, right? What if you don't have any friends? What if you get hit by a car in your coma, or what if, you go to jail and you ain't got no friends anymore? Maybe there will be some nice person in the world that once every 2 weeks runs the good accounting function for all the expired stakes, and then no one will ever pay that penalty ever. It'll just anyone will never incur it. Or maybe the system is happy and the participants in the system are happy to see you bleed out. I don't know how it's going to work. I really don't know, because yesterday was the first day anyone could ever end a stake profitably. So I'm very curious how this will work in the future, right? I don't know whether people will let other people bleed out or whether some good guy will come along and run this function for everyone, once every 2 weeks. It's very interesting, but we had to create game theory to make people update the system state to keep it accurate, because there's no such thing as automatic in a blockchain. Someone has to run the computation. Someone has to be the network. So you had to create game theory to cause people to be the network.
Okay, now going back to Hex, what was the initial day price? Are you able to talk about that?
I have a chart in front of me. It depends on how you want to try and calculate it, right? So there's a ratio of ETH to Hex that occurred in the contract.
Okay. What was the conversion rate?
Let me look it up. Okay. Now, I told everyone not to over FOMO day one. Told everybody not to over FOMO day one, because that's what they did in EOS. And I published the chart of EOS and showed everybody what the EOS chart looked like. And they had a 350-day launch where you could transform Ethereum into EOS, not transform in their case. It was different, it was a security in their case. But, it was 350 days and it had a contract, right? And the chart showed that everyone over FOMO day one and just got bad deals. And I told everybody, you might want to scale in over the first week or two before the price, the share price moves up against you. We've got a share price that only goes up, not a USD price. We don't know what that does, but the share price, which is how many Hex you have to lock to get a share, that only goes up. It ratchets it up every time someone ends a stake and is the new highest profit ever seen. And so if you're the guy that, ended a stake that was a long time and now it's the highest profit the system's ever seen, it sets that as the new share price. And now it's harder for anyone else to dilute the stakers because they have to pay a higher price in Hex to.
Now, one thing I will say, all this is very, very complex. I'm just keeping track of all this.
True. But
Maybe
mortgages are complex too. Things complex in finance, man. Truthfully, like go look at a bonding curve or yield curve, or like understand compounding interest. It's calculus. Like all this stuff is actually hard. And then it's blockchain too. Yeah, it's hard. I know. The moral is stake as long and as large as you can, as early as you can, and then end your stake when you said you would. And that's all you got to do if you want mad hex gains. So I can tell you the first traded price, or I could tell you the price on the contract. So day one, the contract gave you 47,000 hex per ETH. Day two, it gave you 83,000. Day three, it gave you 203,000. And right now it would give you 540,000 hex per ETH with 2 hours and 31 seconds remaining, 2 hours and 31 minutes remaining. And people tend to pile on at the end. So who knows what that will end up in the next 2 hours.
Now, all this is on what site?
You just go to go.hex.win and just install MetaMask, and you don't have to do anything special at all, right? Like if you just want to look at it and not care about keys, you can just tell it to remind me later, and then you can just see it all in real time. So we also have some websites that publish statistics. So there's a Telegram bot that publishes all the statistics of how many people claimed and what percentage of coins are staked, and it's t.me/hex stat. And then we've got, there's a whale bot that tells you on Twitter when whales do certain things in hex. It's called twitter.com/whalehex. And these are all community designed and developed projects. There's so many volunteers they're in hex that just build amazing things that I'm shocked. I'm just amazed all the time. Like I don't know of any other bot that tells you so many cool stats. Like there's speculative stickiness in hex that just doesn't exist in any other cryptocurrency. There's so much more cool stuff to look at. So right now, and this update's real time. So our system, our front end has a global system state in it. And so it takes, about sometimes 30 seconds to load it because it's downloading everything, right? It's downloading absolutely everything, which means in the future, we could in real time show you all types of amazing, cool things. But it's bandwidth intensive. We're working on compressing the data. It's not even gzipped right now, which would give us a 10x throughput performance. So if you go on the hex.win, go.hex.win website right now, you have MetaMask installed, you're going to see there's 512 million hex available. And there's 952 ETH in the ETH bucket, and it will close at 2 hours and 29 minutes. And if no one else joined after this moment, you would get 538,000 hex per ETH. And then tomorrow you would get new buckets. Now there's an exchange price. So if you look at the ETH to hex pair on buydesk.com, right now the last traded price, I gotta find the right button here. ETH. All right, the last traded price is 0.5. It's .50553.
Dollars?
ETH price. ETH price.
Okay.
See, there's so many units because Hex has billions of units. You end up with very small decimals trading in these early days here. So you'd have to multiply
So I do want to get back to some personal questions about you, the person. So tell us, what are the top 3 books that have changed your life or inspired you?
I think I used to do all the Tony Robbins stuff. I think that he has pretty good stuff. 85% of it is wonderful. There's very little not good stuff in it. So Awaken the Giant Within is quite good. I've read every marketing and sales book there is. So when I was a kid and started my first business, I was reading guerrilla marketing, and then I was reading how to copyright with Jay Abrams and other guys that do social circle kind of direct mail kind of copywriting stuff. I think that's super powerful. People ask me about game theory, and I'm like, you can skip learning about game theory and Nash equilibrium and the prisoner's dilemma and all that. You can skip all that. That's useless. Just learn how to write good copy for sales, right? Because that's what matters. Being able to sell and frame and that matters. All this other crap, people that study game theory, they're never good at it. It's weird, It's like people that study weightlifting aren't as strong as people that just lift weights.
Game theory isn't really sales or marketing. Okay.
It's not. I mean, it's lightly. They're lightly related, but it's too esoteric. You need
Now,
the usable stuff.
any books in particular that people can check out?
I mean, Cialdini for influence is great. So he wrote a book called Influence. Cialdini, I think is Robert Cialdini.
Yes.
And then, so Awaken the Giant Within, Robert Cialdini, Influence, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I would say those would be 3 fabulous books to read.
All right. 2 classics.
Yeah. And read all the classics. Like you can but here's the thing, like I read my book. I wrote a couple books, and they're free. Yeah. Just go to t.me/survive, like survive through science. And there's 2 books there. One is stuff that you can do personally to make your life amazing and has better data than I've ever, a conversation you'll have with me is far less efficient and effective than the book there's more of me in my book than there is in person. Cause I forget all of what I know in person, but in my book, I remember it's been years that I've worked on it, so it's got all of my good ideas in there.
So next question we have, who are 3 people in history, whether famous people or just people not famous, that have changed your life?
I mean, this is a lame one, I guess, but my father had me working from diapers, right? We're delivering newspapers and I'm in the car in diapers, flipping the paper out of the car, right? not the best spot for the paper to go for the person receiving it, but I'm working, right? And then, just worked with people in teams and groups and very diverse, people down in South Florida. And, I believe that gave me a lot of skills to, one, be honest and to work with people and to, be friendly and be social and get the job done and be perseverant. So I think he installed a lot of really good, through example, principles into me, and he really worked to get me into a good school. And I ended up at a school that was the smartest imaginable. The middle school I went to was the smartest school I ever went to. We learned logic before math. We learned scheme programming. It was designed by an MIT professor that invented new math. And this was where he was going to do it and change everything, change education from right there.
So logic before math.
Yeah, because you can derive math from logic, but you can't derive logic from math. It's it's so neat. So we learned set theory and modulos and modus ponens and modus tollens and syllogistic inference and all these other really useful tools early on. And then that just kind of gave me this logical framework, which kind of amplified my performance everywhere else. Right. And it was amazing. So if you want to look up the curriculum for giggles, if you do a Google search for MEGSSS, Math Education for Gifted Secondary School Students, and you type curriculum and you look at what the curriculum is for a 6th grade student, you won't understand any of the words. You're like, this was 6th grade. And then my education just got stupider ever after, right? High school was dumber than middle school and college was dumber than high school. And I'm just like, why am I participating in this? I've already learned all this stuff, right? So then I guess I got out, right? I skipped my senior year of high school and just went right to college for free on early admissions. And then I did videotape college instead of attending. And I'm just like, man, this is garbage, right? So then I just worked.
Videotape college? That was the thing?
Well, man, if you're going to, if they're not learning anything anyway, college. Yeah, if you're not learning anything anyway and you already know all the stuff, then why pretend you're learning in class, right? It's just consuming my time. And it was something I had to pay for after.
So is that a metaphor, or do you mean you just didn't go to college?
Well, no, I skipped my senior year of high school and the state paid for me to go to early admissions. And so I went to college for free the first year. Okay. And then after I got my degree, got my high school diploma and was still in college, I figured, okay, well, I guess I'll get a degree or whatever. And then I had to pay for it. And then I was paying to go to college and it just sucked. The college sucked and I wasn't learning anything. So I'm like, okay, well then I guess I'll do the videotape to get the degree because it's just as dumb. I already know this stuff anyway.
What year was this? 90s?
Oh man. I mean, I graduated in 98. So this would have been 90. I would have started the phase of crappy college right after 1998. And then I think I did a couple semesters, maybe 6 months
That
I don't
makes
even
sense.
remember how long a semester is.
Yes.
I did like 6 months and I quit. I'm like, why am I spending money to not learn anything useful when I could just work a job and make money, and the money goes this way instead of that way? Like, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Okay. That's very interesting.
So the education system teaches you things you can't make money on. And as long as the education system is teaching it to you, you will never make money on it, because value is derived by supply and demand. And if everyone is learning the same thing, then it has the absolute maximum supply. And so you must learn what they're not teaching in school if you want to make outsized returns. So you have to learn what they're not teaching in school if you want to make a lot of money, period. And so going to school is actually not a good way to make money. Even if you're a lawyer, when you go to school to become a lawyer, when you get to the law office, nothing that they have you do looks like anything you were taught in school. You're cold calling people and filling out wills. And none of that was in school. And you're like, okay, well, why didn't I just skip the school, right? And so even if you're going to be a lawyer, you can just take the bar and become a lawyer in certain states, and then that license will be passported across state lines to other states. And so, like, you can go to Louisiana and just take the bar exam without going to school and be a lawyer and just get to work and start doing lawyer things without wasting your time in school.
I mean,
if you're a self-starter,
I definitely do agree with you that school, like for me, I mean, I'm very academic. Both my parents are professors. I have bachelor's and master's in computer engineering, but I've never used that in anything I've done outside of college.
It just doesn't work. There's no application for it.
But I wouldn't say everybody should not go to school, because not everybody is.
You're just going to a different school. You're going to a different school. So I'm not saying don't learn. I'm saying learn. So there's two types of learning you can do. You can do push learning, which is, I'm going to learn all this crap, and then I hope some of it becomes useful, right? I'm going to learn the order of the planets from the sun and how many there are, even though I don't have a spaceship and I don't got to turn left at Mars or anything. I'm going to learn it anyway. I'm going to hope it becomes useful one day. And then literally people just forget everything they were taught. If I quizzed you on how many planets there were and what the order from the sun was, there's like a 20% chance you'd know. You want to try it?
No.
You were taught it, right? You used to know it, but now you don't know it. So how much value was there in that?
There was no value, because there's no value in stuff that you can pull up through Google.
Pretty much.
The value is in applying stuff.
Exactly. So what can we do instead of push? We can pull. So here's a goal and a target that I want to achieve, and I need to learn a lot of things to get there, right? And so how do I get to this point? Okay, I got to learn this. I got to learn that. I got to learn this. And then you have a critical path that you're still learning the right things to get something done, instead of learning 50 of the wrong things. You're still learning, but you're learning in the most efficient way possible using that pull system, right? There's something pulling you to learn things, instead of you learning a bunch of stupid crap and forgetting most of it and none of it being ever applicable. So that in book 2, in those 2 books of Sci-Vive, the one called Fix the World, that one goes into how we can fix politics and the education system and things that are outside of any individual's control usually. The first book focuses on things that are inside your control.
No,
I've done videos on these things too. All my early YouTube videos were about these topics because I didn't talk about crypto back then.
Okay.
So all my early YouTube videos are self-help videos.
Now, I mean, going back to what you said about college, I mean, the way I view it is, I agree with everything you said. I kind of have a different perspective. My perspective is kind of more derived from Nietzsche and just from philosophy. Not everybody can be great by definition.
Sure.
So
yeah, it's a tautology.
So for those who cannot be great, having a cookie cutter path to having some form of success.
I agree. I would just use a different cookie cutter. I think the cookie cutters we have right now suck. I think we should teach ethics. I think we should teach fashion. I think we should teach how to not get ripped off. I think we should teach how to be a good friend. And that shit's not in the curriculum. But what is in the curriculum is like understanding the difference between an igneous rock and a volcanic rock. Or actually, igneous and volcanic might be the same. I can't remember, to tell the truth. That shit is useless. So we need to replace learning about rocks with learning about being a good human, right? Like emotional management. When do they teach you good emotional management in school?
Intelligence.
Yeah, they don't even teach you that shit. Like, it's so stupid that we've had all of this high performance. You know, I studied to be a life coach, and I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in Tony Robbins stuff, and you know, I've got an NLP master practitioner cert, and you know, I've done, you know, all the things. I've walked on burning coals a bunch of times. I've fasted for a week. I've done all the stuff, right? Traveled the world and all that jazz. None of that is taught in school. Why? It's the knowledge is there. We know it works, right? And why don't we just teach that stuff that we know works instead of all of this crap that we know does not work? It just drives me mad.
I would say college is a business. So my first week of college, I wanted to drop out, but I couldn't just because of my family.
Right.
But I'm still glad I finished. But I know who I was. If I dropped out, I still would be successful.
Right.
But I can't say that for everybody else out there. So for those who are not as motivated or who are not self-starters, I don't want to just say, hey, drop out and go do whatever you want. Because not everybody can be great. Not everybody has that inner game, that's psychology.
You're right. I mean, I imagine if we taught kids how to just paint houses or fix cars or fix air conditioners instead of earth space science. Seriously. Yeah. Like it would make the world a better place. People say, oh, but you know, what people might not do what they want to do. You can let them pick which thing they want to do. Like
now they do that in parts of, I think, like Europe or like in Germany, or where they have like technical schools where you go there and you just learn a trade.
Good. It's better because they can paint your fucking house, man. I build my own computers. I build my own microphones. I build my own keyboards. I like fix my own steel things. Like I do all this stuff because I just learned it because there's things I wanted to do earlier in life. And now I have those skills forever, right? I do my own video production. I build my own cryptocurrencies because I just stayed engaged and kept learning, right? And I didn't waste my time learning the wrong shit. Like if you ask me about sports, I don't know a goddamn thing currently. I used to know a lot. I used to play football, right? Mm-hmm. But now I don't know anything because I traded that. I sacrificed that. I sacrificed sports knowledge for excellence in business, right? Like you got to decide what you want to be good at, right? Do you want to be good at what everyone else is good at and who's going to get drafted and all that shit? How much money is there in that? Nothing. I used to root for the Dolphins,
betting,
right?
There is money in that. Gambling.
Don't bet. Like, so the Dolphins, they changed the name of the stadium. They changed the players. They changed the coach and they changed the mascot. They changed everything. So I'm like, what am I rooting for here? Like, there's nothing, there's no similarity between what this was and what, like, and I have no influence over it. Cause I used to get really mad, right? Like, you know, when things didn't work out in the field, you get super pissed. And it's just I decided that there's a better way to live. There's no reason for me to be getting super upset about this stuff that I have absolutely no control over, right?
Yeah. All right. So last question before we end up wrapping up the show.
Sure.
So what are the 3 biggest actions you took in your life that have changed and transformed your life and made you who you are and made you successful?
Started my own business, for sure.
That's the car business? That was the car?
This was the car stereo business, was the first one, yeah. I mean, I tried earlier ones when I was young. Like I used to sell candy and, you know, I got some people to try and sell like greeting cards and stuff, you know, like in the back of Boys Life magazine, there was an advertisement for it. And then what else? So I think because that scales, right? And so I got a video called One Way to Buy Your Freedom or One Way to Get Rich. And it tells you got to make enough money. Here's one way to do it. Buy stuff on Alibaba, stock it locally, put out an advertisement for it. If people call, you're in business. If people don't call, you're not in business. As a matter of fact, you can put the phone number advertisement out first to see if people call before you even buy anything. And then if people start calling, you tell them, okay, well, you know, I was just doing a test run. Sorry, I don't really have it. Or you could be a dick and lie to them and say, oh, it's sold already, right? Yeah. I prefer the more truthful thing. And then, you know, if your phone starts ringing and you know there's demand for a thing, well, then you could buy it, stock it, and now you're in business. And that idea will continue to work until everyone's local area is filled with high quality, low margin, you know, good priced products. And that's never the case. What's the case is that you go and most of the stuff you look at sucks and no one knows what's good and what's not. And the prices aren't that great. And so there's a huge niche that is available locally wherever you are to become an expert in whether it is purses or car stereo stuff, or, you know, I like electronics because they're higher ticket prices. You know, you're in between like $300, $500 items. So you can make, you know, maybe 30, 40% margin on each one. If you sell lower ticket items, you just got to sell so many more of them. And the customer support is about the same, right? It's going to eat as much time to do customer support for a cheap product as an expensive one. Mm-hmm. So that gives you the time to buy your freedom. And then once you're free and you've hired your first employee to replace yourself, now you've got free time. You make a little bit less money because you got an employee, but you got your free time. And then you learn the next thing. And the next thing you learn scales, because that local crap, it doesn't scale. So you get into internet things, you get into digital things, you get into things that you can ship over state lines. And then you could get this opportunity to make money while you're sleeping. Now that business still will make money while you're sleeping, and you can still ship things. And, there's still a lot of good parts to retail there, but in the end, retail is not ideal, right? Things that can reach millions of people are ideal. So it's a video that I made, and just search it, Richard Hart, one way to get rich. And I think it still works today. I know it still works today because I tell people to do it. I told a kid to do that, and he started selling rings and jewelry on the internet, and, he bought a car. And then, this stuff works, right? Like, business gets done. There is money to be made in it. So we said 3 things that changed my life. Start your own business. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the Tony Robbins stuff has been useful, right? Like reading and learning and then applying what you've learned. I think that's great. So I guess that would be, being a learner and an experimenter that really will try new things. Just because you read it and you never try it, it didn't help you.
There's nothing. You
got to try it. You got to use it. If you're not using it, it's just tragedy, basically, right? And then what would the third thing be? Business.
Well,
learning.
In the business, you said first do a local business, then after that's working, do the second business that scales.
Well, yeah, I think that's a path anyone could take. If you can just jump to the scaling thing first, congratulations, but it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder.
Absolutely.
Because there's so few businesses that really do scale. And they tend to be highly competitive. Like, go try and make the next Uber. I dare you, right? Go try and make the next eBay. It's very, very hard. Even Google can't make a next Facebook, right? Like, Google Plus just entirely failed. So the third thing I did that was super important, man, I don't know. I mean, it would be easy to say, like, buy Bitcoin, but it didn't matter really. Like, I've been rich for a long time.
I would say Hex.
I think Hex could change the world. It has the ability to get traction that other things haven't had, right? Like, Bitcoin doesn't have a referral program. Bitcoin doesn't have time locking and replace the CD. Bitcoin doesn't have cheaper fees. Bitcoin doesn't have higher throughput. Like, Ethereum now with this new fork is doing ZK rollups and optimistic rollups, which can do 100 to 1,000x TPS on chain. Well, Hex benefits from all that, right? So, like, we have the opportunity to really get users. Right now, Bitcoin's only got 2.8 million wallets with over $1,000 in them. 42% of the entire currency is owned by addresses over 1,000, right? So there's only 2,000 addresses over 1,000, and they own over 42% of the currency. That's fucking terrible. That is not good at all. People think that they're supporting something that's going to change the world and get rid of banks, and you're like, the banks own more than you do. So when you're pumping your bags and saying all these wonderful things about Bitcoin, you're making Tim Draper more money than you got. No, he's not a banker, he's a VC guy, but you get the idea. There's a social class of people that own more Bitcoin than you. The Plus Token Ponzi owns 1% of all Bitcoin. The Winklevoss twins own 1% of all Bitcoin. Satoshi owns 5% of all Bitcoin. Tim Draper, I think, might own 1%, right? Yeah. And then we go down this list and you're like, okay, actually shit. The actual normal nice guys, the anarcho-capitalists and whatnot, they don't actually own fuck all as far as percentage of Bitcoin goes. And you want to break this to them like, hey guys, you're pumping the bags of this class of people that you don't actually like that much. You just don't realize it. Like, who's really rich? The exchanges are rich. The Ponzi schemers are rich. Some early rich whale people that bought in heavy are rich, but the normal guy, he ain't that rich, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. Wow, I mean, that's deep. That's the
Hex
truth.
solves this. We penalize and slash those guys. We make new whales. We're not socialists. We don't get rid of whales. We just make new ones. Get rid of the old ones, and we give you a chance to be the whale.
So, I mean, all I can do is just say, I mean, I think the vision and the mindset is good. I mean, I don't think, from looking at it from our side, that is, I definitely would not call Hex a scam. However, as a friend, I would just recommend you get legal counsel to look at everything, because the bigger you get, the more trolls will try to tear this down.
I'm watching I get to see these things happening in court. There's a lot of court cases you could watch. You've got Kin case, you've got the XRP case. and you can see what's going on, right? Because the case law is not set. We've had regulatory actions, but none of these things has actually been to court. Everyone's settled. So now, Kin's really going to go to court, and you're really going to see what the actual judges think about this. And it's going to be interesting. That'll be the first precedent for crypto, I believe.
Any last words where people can learn more about you?
Sure.
And Hex?
Yeah, go to Richard Hart Win on Twitter. Got like 53K subs on there. Go to Richard Hart on YouTube. You might be watching this now. I've got like 43K subs on there. Go to t.me / that's t.me / like tango.mike echo / Hex Crypto, Hex Charts, Hex Trading, Hex News, Hex Videos, Hex Claims, Hex AA, Richard's Calls, Price Calls channel, Strape, general crypto chat like Strawberry Grape, Strape Charts, Scivive. Got a lot of Telegram channels. A lot of Telegram channels. We run Telegram, man. We run it, and we got bots. If you go into Hex Crypto Telegram, you can type !pasta, and it'll give you a menu of every frequently asked question anyone ever asks. Where's the Ethereum go? Tells you why, where it goes, right? It says, we can't tell you, and here's why, and here's a video on it. Here's 4 videos, actually. And then here's the thoroughbred response, right? Hey, can I sell my staked coins? Nope. ! Sell stake, right? Hey, what share price? How's that work? ! Share price. Everything's already there in a bot so that anyone in the chat can call it to answer your question. It's awesome. So good.
Now, was that a custom bot you built, or when you
added I license a package that allows me to build the bot, and then it does a lot of other things like ban scammers, ban spammers, nice. Gets rid of other bots. And it's just like a really cool, they have a reputation system where people can like what you said and you'll get more reputation. So we've got game theory everywhere. It's so good. Yeah.
All right.
Then,
well,
hold on. That's not it.
Go ahead.
So we got Telegram channels, we got the Twitter, we got the YouTube. In the past, I would tell you a referral link to trade, but I don't do that anymore because I don't want to see you get wrecked. So don't trade. Don't do it. You're going to lose your money. We got trustless interest with Hex now. You don't need to get wrecked and liquidated. If you want to donate to charity, donate to sens.org. They accept crypto. They are trying to save lives, doing medical research. And that's it. Oh, if you want to buy Hex, go to, I guess you can go to exchange, or if you want to mint your own Hex directly from the contract by, free claiming with Bitcoin or transforming Ethereum into Hex, you can go to pumpamentals.com and that'll give you a 10% bonus, or you can use anyone else's referral link that you find. That'll work just as well. And then you can go to go.hex.win and you'll get a 10% bonus transforming Ethereum into Hex, or free claiming with your Bitcoin signature. That's it.
Wow, thank you. I mean, this has definitely been a good interview. For those who are watching, this is the 100X show. Definitely make sure if you like this video or even the podcast, you like, subscribe, share with your friends. I mean, Richard has really gone very, very deep with us on his background, on Hex, the project. And I think we've been very, very fair in terms of the questions we've asked. This hasn't been like—
You asked the hard questions.
Right?
Where's the money go, man? And why is this legal? And, it's good. Those are the hard questions.
And for those who want to check out our official review on Hex, be sure to go to our site, tokenmetrics.com, sign up. We have 14 days free trial. We also have a free plan as well. And for those who subscribe to the premium plans, use the code CryptoFamily. That will give you 10% off. And yeah.
I had a good time, man.
Likewise.
I appreciate it. And we've met a couple times in person, and I imagine we're going to end up keep doing that.
Yeah, I agree. And as usual, everything we covered here is just purely our opinion. It's not financial investment advice. Talk to professionals before investing. Investing in cryptocurrencies can be risky. You could lose all your money. And as usual, if you take any L's, don't mention our name. All right. With that being said, the moon is not the limit. To the moon and beyond.
All right.
Thank you, Richard.
Man. Ciao, brother.